Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Kira, and today I just wanted to share what God has been doing in baby and I's lives. We've moved. This is our new apartment, and we moved back to California, and that's just a God story in and of itself. And I just wanted to pop on for a moment to share because there's so much power in testimonies, and faith comes by hearing. And I just want to share an example of what God's done in our lives in the past month, and I pray it's an encouragement to you. And just a reminder that God can do anything and go beyond human circumstances, and do what he says he's going to do. He's faithful, so faithful. And so this started back in February-ish time frame. Baby told me, he's like, I really feel like God's telling us to move back to California in October, which, if you know us, we've wanted to move back for a long time, but we were just praying. We're like, Lord, like, whenever your time is, let it be. And so he's like, I really believe we're going to move back in October. And so I prayed. I was like, Lord, like, is this what you're saying to baby? Is this what you're saying for us? And I really felt like God was like, you're going to move in September to be there in October. It's like, okay. And so we're starting to job hunt. We're looking, not finding anything. We flew out to California in July to just follow something that someone had mentioned to us job-wise. Came out to take a look. We thought it was really going to pan out, and we're like, this is going to be it. It's going to be awesome. Didn't quite work that way. It ended up that, putting a pin in that story, that we had to wait a lot longer to hear back than we thought. Meanwhile, I'm applying to jobs, and I see one, and it turns out one of my good friends actually gets the job, but then I'm contacted, and they said, hey, we actually need to create another position, and we would love you to apply. So I did, and I'm going through interviews, and I was like, Lord, like, I didn't think this is where you would want me, but if this is where you want me, like, I just got to the point one night where I was like, Lord, like, if this is where you want to place me, like, if I get the job, I'm going to take it. Well, at this point, it's like September, and we really feel like God has called us back in October, even though we're not really seeing anything happen. Baby doesn't have a job. I'm in the interview process for a job, but obviously haven't gotten it yet. We tell our landlord that we're moving out. We told him we're moving back to California, even though job-wise, that has, like, no meaning, no weight to it. So we're saying we're moving. And I end up getting the job, which is incredible. And they ask me when I can start. And I say October 1st, simply believing that that's what God has told us, and we're going to be there somehow, some way. By October 1st, that I will be there in California working. And I just remember, like, just praying to God and being like, God, like, I told them I was going to be there in person October 1st, and I can't be there in person October 1st if baby doesn't have a job, because California is very expensive. We can't live off of my income alone. And so I was like, Lord, like, you just can't have to give baby a job. Like, I'm going off of faith at this point. Like, we told our landlord we're moving out. Baby doesn't quite have a job yet. Only I have a job. I said we're moving there October 1st. That's it. So at this point, it's like 10 days before the end of September. And we finally get a call that baby has a job, that he has gotten his job, the one that we flew out for in July. And I was like, okay. And so we both have jobs. Then we're apartment hunting, and that was just really a God thing, and just like praying over which area to live and where he wanted us. And we just really felt like God told us a specific place. We applied, and the process just took a lot longer. We were going to leave on Tuesday, September 28th. We had already moved out of our rental. Like, we've already moved out. Like, at this point, we're staying at my parents' for 3 days before driving across the country, and we don't have a place to live yet. And so I'm like praying. I was like, Lord, like, we applied to this place believing this is where you wanted us to be. So just please come through. And literally, like, 24 hours, not even that, less than 24 hours before we set out to drive across the country with all of our stuff packed in our car, we get the call that we get the apartment and we have a place to live, because we are just going to drive across the country not knowing where we're going to live. I just share that as like a testimony of God's faithfulness, because obviously circumstances would have shown that like this move was like nearly impossible, that we were going off of like the word that God gave us like more than 6 months earlier, way longer than that, like February to October. Like, we're holding on to this one word that God gave us, knowing that he's going to work it out somehow, some way. And I think it's just like, God will meet you there. We saw that, and we saw him work out the details. He came through at the midnight hour for our jobs. He came through with the apartment. He also came through with our car, because I haven't shared this, but I was in a really bad wreck that totaled our car, and we only had one, and so we had none. And then our car was temporarily lost that we had bought, and so they're finding that like we got our car 4 days before we left for California, 1 day before we moved out of our apartment. And it's just like those things where it's like God worked in the details. We had people praying over every part of it. We had prayer groups praying over our car, that it would be found and it would be brought to the dealership by the time we needed it. We prayed that God would provide housing for us before we left, so we knew where we were moving to. We prayed for jobs, and God came through. And I just share all of this sitting on the other side of it, sitting in the blessing of it, sitting in the promise of it all, as God can do the very same and more for you. That this isn't just one circumstance where he worked for baby and I, and that he can do the same. And my prayer is that this awakens your faith, that it renews your faith, that rejuvenates your faith, that God can do the very same in your life for whatever circumstance. And so I just pray that whatever word God has given you, whatever he has spoken over your life, that you can have the faith to live it out, that you can step into the waters where it just feels like you're like, Lord, like it doesn't make sense. And I hit a point where I was just like, God, like I'm at the end of myself. Like I literally can't make people accept us for apartments. I literally can't make employers take us on. I can't. I'm incapable. I'm just a human. But God knew that. And one thing that he reminded me was I went to a worship night during the process of all of this. And the process of not knowing how this is going to unfold. And I just remember having this vision where I was like Peter stepping out in the water, but I was like starting to flounder. Like I was not walking on water, like I was in the water. And I remember saying like, God, why am I in the water? And he's like, you took your eyes off of me. Like you're looking at all the circumstances, all the details of this move. You're looking at how everything's not quite yet together. And it's making you worry, and it's making you anxious. And he's like, no, keep your eyes fixed on me. And I just feel like for whoever's watching and you're like, I have a lot going on and I don't see how God's going to sort it, keep your eyes fixed on him. Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. That is who he is. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we can trust in him. And it doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you think. It doesn't mean it's going to work out in the exact timing that you think. But a sermon that I heard recently was that when God doesn't work out the way we expect, it's a chance to be more intimate with him and say, Lord, like I expected you to come through in this way. You came through in this way. You know, why was I off? What did I miss? Like, this is your character. Show me. Let me know. And so all of this to share and to say is just to increase your faith, to remind you that God does miracles, that God can do the seemingly impossible, because that is the God we serve. And if he calls you to something, he's going to equip you, he's going to prepare you, he's going to give you what you need to do it. And it requires faith, and it requires stepping out where it looks like there's no place to step, but somehow the water beneath your feet grows firm enough to step out and take another step and another step and another step. And so I just pray this is an encouragement. I pray that this just reminds you of the character of God and who he is. And so that's our testimony for right now, for September into October, and God being faithful on a word that he gave us so many months ago. But if you have any prayer requests, if you're like, Kira, I need prayers for faith, I need prayers that I can believe what God said, please share them in the comments below. We absolutely want to pray for you. And secondly, we're going to have a vlog up sometime soon, which is going to be fun. It's our 33-hour journey to California, which is just really long, really fun. Get to see God in new ways. So stay tuned for that. But I love you. I pray God's blessing over you and your week. And be blessed. I love you so much.